Hey everyone, this is Paul with your Bold Profits Daily. This week, I want to show you a phenomenal opportunity that is sitting right in front of your very eyes. In fact, if you have been watching the coverage from CES 2019, and CES is the Consumer Electronics Show, this trade would seem so obvious, so clear, and there's only really one way this can go to me: up, up, and up. Now, if you are walking around CES or go on YouTube and watch vloggers like Linus and Marques Brownlee, everything that they are talking about, touching, testing, they all have one thing in them. Many of you might say plastics. No, it's true. However, I believe that the trade in plastics is long done. No, they have something else in them that's much more important. And it's more important because you can buy into it and still make a ton of money, a ton of money. And what's that? And those are computer chips. That's right. Everything from artificial intelligence TVs, all the different robots that were there, all the new devices, the virtual reality machines, the augmented reality, all of those things, they depend on chips. If in another time we needed cement and steel to create the world that we currently have, for the revolution that is happening today of the Internet of Things, and for robotics and artificial intelligence and the general digitization of our entire society and of the way we live, the key to it are computer chips. And I believe that these stocks can go up and go up a lot from where they are. That's because when you go look at them today, no one is really pricing the fact that in time we will have walls made out of chips. We will have floors made out of chips. We will have blinds made out of chips. Everything around us will be digitized, and it will give us information. It will be able to read our habits, remember them. Just imagine blinds that remember when you wake up in the morning, are sensitive based on light, alarm clocks that set themselves, cars that know where to go based on your habit. They will all ultimately depend on various kinds of chips. So how can you bet on computer chips and all of this huge digital revolution that is happening right now? Well, the way to do it is through a ETF. And that ETF has the ticker symbol SMH. That's right, SMH. And this ETF has virtually all of the chip stocks from the United States and from around the world, because chip making is a global industry. There's chips that are used everywhere. However, the leading manufacturers, the leading designers of chips are largely in the United States, Europe, and in major parts of Asia. So you will get exposure to companies that include Intel, even though really Intel is in some ways a spent force because they focus largely on computer chips, and the future is really about all those things that I talked about at first, which is artificial intelligence, robotics, blockchain, and even new energy. And all of these new devices, they all use a ton of chips. So the way to get into that is to buy into the SMH ETF, which is the VanEck Semiconductors ETF. And I've recommended this ETF many times before. And yes, it's had a very difficult time in 2018. However, I believe that the semiconductors are going to have a good 2019 and an even better 2020, because volumes are recovering for all of them, and that's the critical factor for ETFs. And looking at what is going on at CES will tell you that future volumes are going to be many times greater, multiples and multiples greater than whatever this industry produces right now. And the only way to benefit is to buy these stocks. Now, if you want to get the really, really large gains, the huge gains, the multiple hundred percent gains, 1,000% gains, you have to own individual stocks. So here comes my shameless plug for one of my services. If you want to get those names, we have those in 2 of my services. The bigger chip stocks are in my Profits Unlimited service. And so you want to check my Profits Unlimited service out, where we have something like 8 different chip stocks that are laser focused on those big megatrends that I always talk about: the Internet of Things, blockchain, artificial intelligence, robotics, new energy. They have direct exposure there. And so while the SMH ETF will go up a lot, the stocks in Profits Unlimited will go up that much more. So that's my recommendation for you for this week. And that's my video update for you this week. Buy the SMH ETF. And if you want individual stocks, check into my Profits Unlimited service. So I'll have a new one for you next week. Until then, this is Paul saying bye.